So it's finished Arsenal 2, Wolverhampton Wanderers 0 on the opening game of the Premier League season. A frustrating way to start the season for Wolves, but certainly some positives to take out of it. But still not ideal to lose the opening game of the season. I'll be giving my thoughts as always. If you managed to catch the game, let me know your thoughts as well in the comment section down below. Hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. I'll flag up the starting 11 on the screen now. Not too dissimilar to what I'm sure a lot of people would have expected and sort of what I'd spoken about and predicted on the preview. Probably the main difference for what Gary O'Neill selected to what I thought was Jean-Luc de Bellegarde in for Matheus Cunha, which which could have been expected. We didn't really know the full extent of Matheus Cunha's fitness despite him being back in training. And I was looking forward to it. It's quite important that we don't sort of look into it or, downplay the rest of the season based on this one match. Certainly because there's 37 other games to play. But when you're away at Arsenal, who arguably are going to be up in the sort of top 2-3 this season, you would expect, it's hard not to get too carried away with, there's a lot of negative shouts on the timeline. But certainly, I think, we were in the game for the majority of the match. I think both goals, which I'll talk about, certainly didn't come massively through the fault of the back four. And I mean that in regards to, I was concerned about us playing a back four in this game because I think teams like Arsenal will certainly drag your back four from pillar to post and drag players out where, and that didn't necessarily happen throughout the two goals. But Wolves certainly had some positive spells throughout the game, which we didn't quite take advantage of. I think if you look at the match stats, I've got them on my screen just here. In terms of possession, it's very, very close. Even in terms of, shots on target, it wasn't far away. So on paper, it was certainly a close game. Do I think Arsenal deserved to win it? Yes, probably. But Wolves could have certainly made it a much more interesting and a much more frustrating afternoon for Arsenal. And I take that as a positive going into next week's game against Chelsea, especially being back at Molineux. But the opening goal for me is frustrating. I think this is where Gary O'Neill will be disappointed. And I think you could see his frustration towards the end of the game because he picked up a yellow about something as well. Saka whips this ball in, sort of cuts inside on his left, whips it in. So, he's going towards goal and Havertz heads it home. But for me, the first thing is Saka's got far too much space and time. A quality of Bukayo Saka, really you can't afford to be giving him a lot of time on the ball because he will make things happen. We saw that as well with the second goal today. But the ball in, and for me, I think Sarr's got to take the blame for this. He's come off his line into no man's land, really into a massive crowd of players. And if you're going to come off your line that far, you have to get something on the ball, whether it's punching it away, whether it's just knocking it out of the direction of Havertz's head, and Sarr doesn't get anywhere close to it. There's a few people mentioning me on Twitter blaming Mosquera for it or trying to almost deflect the blame off Sarr. But for me, I think the header, it's not a poor header by any means, but I certainly think if Sarr stays on his line, whether Mosquera wins the ball or not, the header will be saved by Jose Sarr, simple as. So I think that was a frustrating goal to concede, but certainly Saka shouldn't have had the time to whip the ball in altogether. Second half, I felt Wolves looked like a completely different team. We had Arsenal pinned back in their own half for the majority of the half. But the one thing was we just didn't, we just overplayed it at times, but just didn't have enough urgency in front of goal almost. It wasn't like we wanted to play that final ball to try and create the final chance. We're keeping the possession really, really well, but we were playing very, very safe with it at the same time. But certainly that helped towards the possession stat that I mentioned earlier, us having a really, really strong spell of possession, probably from the 50th, 55th minute up until the sort of 65th, 70th minute. I had a really strong spell of possession. But when sort of Arsenal caught us out, quick free kick taken by Arsenal, which I think we probably have to be switched on a little bit better for. That will be a bit cleverer about. And in the end, Saka smashes it home, beats Jose Sarr at what I would call his near post, but certainly it's a strike through a group of bodies, a very difficult, shot to save. But I think it just shows the pure quality there of Bukayo Saka. Sarr did have to make a few decent saves throughout the game. So did David Raya. I think I didn't mention Strand Larsen had a great chance in the first half. Actually, a really decent header. Raya going in a completely different direction and manages to, you know, show the quality of goalkeeper he is to claw it away, and had to make 1 or 2 other decent saves in the second half. Matheus Cunha did come on eventually. We also saw the likes of Daniel Podence and Chiquinho come on. If you told me that at the start of summer, I would have probably laughed at you, but we see them in a Wolves shirt in the Premier League again. Yeah, and Cunha had a good chance. This was at 1-0 as well. Arsenal overplaying it at the back, and Cunha has a great chance. 2 bodies to his left, albeit Arsenal defended that quite well. And Cunha has a really, really poor shot on goal. Doesn't test Raya at all, really. That could have been 1-1. That could have been a completely different game for the last 20-25 minutes or so. But yeah, like I said, after they got that second goal, Arsenal just sort of did what they needed to do to see out the game, really. In terms of individual performances, I know I mentioned Mosquera earlier in the missed header. I thought other than that, really showed his quality. And I think a lot of people, again, on the social media are saying how good he looks. Even the commentators from the game I was watching were certainly praising Yerson Mosquera. And he's got that little bit of, excuse my French, shithousery about him. He's certainly got to be careful, because there'll be a lot of Arsenal fans, and probably Arsenal fans watching this video and commenting on it, feeling like Yerson has got to be sent off. Because there was a time where he wins the ball off Havertz. Havertz pulls him down, and as he pulls down, Havertz doesn't really want to let go, and Mosquera sort of grabs him. And if he lost his temper just that little bit more, it's a red card. And I think he's just quick enough and makes it sort of not obvious enough that he gets away with it. And then another time where Jesus is sort of stood on the ball. Mosquera goes to push him away. Strangely puts his hand on Jesus' backside, which I didn't think he appreciated, but did obviously. You know, we got the foul, and Jesus actually got booked for that because of his reaction to Mosquera. So you just got to watch that temper a little bit, but that shithousery, I think, will certainly probably help him and get the fans G'd up a little bit throughout the season. But very good, proper, I'm not going to say Premier League debut or first half of Wolves, because certainly we have seen him, but it was a long, long time ago, but a great reintroduction into the Wolves team, certainly. But other than that, I think, you know, I want to see us step it up a little bit, but certainly it's not all doom and gloom. I know on paper it's a frustrating result, and when obviously we didn't get the goal to back it up, but I think a quality centre-back, because I think Totti certainly struggled at times today, a proper centre-back next to Gerson, I think people will certainly warm towards the back four idea a little bit more, but been too quiet in the transfer window. Wolves need to be better this coming week. Hopefully we get 1 or 2 players in, maybe Carlos Forbes, who was linked, but obviously that's a discussion for a completely different video. As always, guys, appreciate you watching, and do let me know your thoughts if you managed to catch the game. Be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, we'll have the fans react as well later on tonight. As always, look after yourselves, and I'll see you all very, very soon.